Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Martin, and I'm the CEO and one of the owners of NETRONIC Software here from Germany. Today's webinar has the title and topic, 3 times production scheduling with Business Central only, with VPS and with VAPS. And I'm really excited that you're here. This is a very packed agenda today, and I hope I will get this done in 60 minutes, because we will look at actually how you can do some production scheduling when you work with Business Central only. And this will be the more basic part of this webinar. So I know that there are a lot of partners out there who have much better clue about this than me, but I will just briefly touch this and then see what an addition you get when you work with our product that is called the Visual Production Scheduler, VPS, and what you will get when you work with our most advanced product, which is called the VAPS, both of them being extensions that integrate with Business Central. By default, you are muted during this webinar because we have quite a big audience here, and we don't want to kind of disturb the presentation by unwanted background noise. But of course, you're more than welcome to ask questions throughout the entire webinar with this GoToWebinar chat pane. So just type in a question, and when I'm on PowerPoint, I will answer it immediately. And if I'm doing presentation, sometimes I don't see the notification, then I will definitively answer when I get back from my presentation environment to PowerPoint again. So every question you ask that is related to production scheduling with Business Central will get answered today, or latest after the meeting with an email. Of course, we record the session, and so we make available the recording over the course of this week on our website, on our YouTube channel. So this should work out pretty well. And with this, let's get it going. Still a reminder for you guys, because you signed up for this webinar, so I assume that you are interested in Business Central, in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central on the one hand, but this is a 3 times production scheduling webinar. So I assume that you're on the other hand also interested in manufacturing, and there is a podcast that I'm running, which is called the Business Central Manufacturing Show. This was my Corona project to make use of some time that I, in quotes, won in the home office period when Germany was in lockdown. So I started a podcast, and actually this is quite fun to me and insightful. So I'm learning an episode that I've been making. I have now made 13 episodes. So every Monday I publish an interview with an expert that knows a lot about Business Central, but even more about manufacturing. The interviews take 25 minutes, and I really recommend that you listen in, because I personally learned from every interview that I did, and I'm pretty sure and pretty confident that you also will learn from them. So here is the link. It's on our website, and then you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and some other platforms. So it's really highly recommended if you're in Business Central and in manufacturing. And so this was a little bit of advertisement in advance. So let's go actually to the topic of this webinar. This is 3 times production scheduling, Business Central, Visual Production Scheduler, Visual Advanced Production Scheduler. And if you have a title like this, then the typical first question is, yeah, but what is the difference between Business Central Production Scheduling, Visual Production Scheduler, and Visual Advanced Production Scheduler? And I've been hearing and getting these questions quite frequently. So first of all, what we should all be aware of, that Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central is really, really, really a rock solid fundament for production scheduling. So what Microsoft has been building there, and this is more or less 15 years or more old. They started it with a vision, but thankfully they brought everything to Business Central. And this is really, really a strong basis in terms of what an ERP system can provide to help you guys or your customers for production scheduling. So just let me quickly recap. You have the capability to manage all your items, and there are a lot of item specific settings that you can define and that you can manage to help with item control, with purchase orders triggered by items, and with reordering policy. So you have the minimum order quantity, safety stock level, safety lead time. So a lot of really down to earth parameters that you can set and that help you manage your item demand, but also your item supply. Really, really strong there. Then you can define your bills of material. You can define your production bombs. And again, it is not just a production bomb that you can define, but with low-level codes, you can really build a multi-level production with a deep sub-assembly hierarchy. And I've seen recently some customers that where you really took this to the edge and had whatever 8-9 levels of sub-assembly hierarchy, and this is very powerful. And I'm aware of a lot of systems, ERP systems that cannot handle this hierarchical structure of a sub-assembly production that you can really easily and comfortably define with Business Central. Then you have, of course, the production orders. You can create the production orders, and you have the production order statuses with simulated, planned, firm, planned, released, and with these statuses, there is a workflow, an implicit and explicit workflow behind. There are some things that you can do to a firm planned production order that you cannot do to a planned production order. For example, make the reservation in order to fulfill some sub-assembly hierarchy. There are some things you can do to a release production order that you cannot do to a firm planned production order, like the posting. So there is actually a lot of power here. There are family orders. So again, lot of good functionality, which then also is seen in the work and the machine centers, the way of how you can set them up, the fact that you can define different shop calendars for different work centers, that you have the subcontracting work center where you can handle outside work. So all of this is in Business Central. I'm not talking about our product, but I'm just talking about the ERP. I'm talking about Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, and why I'm personally convinced that this is really a good fundament for production scheduling. You have MRP and MPS, so you can create a plan to meet your demand, and there is some really sophisticated production order handling behind this. With it, you can create productions, you can update productions, you can release new productions. So really powerful MRP, and it's worthwhile to spend some time with MRP and to look at it. Then you have the options, the different options to create production orders manually from sales orders, from MRP. So a lot of efficiency there. And you have the production journal where you bring together the schedule data and the execution data, so where you can track progress on production orders based on the consumption, on the output. So there is really a good fundament. And if you ask me what is missing, so why is this area blank? Well, what is really missing, and this is the one and only thing that the product called VPS, Visual Production Scheduler, brings to this fundament that we see here, and this is that you see your schedule in Gantt charts and get easy drag and drop scheduling. So the VPS is fully built on this fundament. It makes use of this fundament. It does not change it. It just closes this one functional gap that is in there, and this means it closes the gap that Business Central does not provide you with a production Gantt chart, and it does not provide you with the capability to do drag and drop scheduling. And this is the role of the VPS. The role of the VPS is just to help you make better use of this rock solid fundament here that you have. With the VPS, you can do what you can do with what you have in standard Business Central. And the only difference is you do it in a visual way, and hence, with some cases, especially when it comes to scheduling, you can do it much more intuitive, much more much faster and in a much more understandable way. And then we have, on top of this, we have the VAPS, and the VAPS builds on this fundament and it enhances the fundament. And hence, it also provides new scheduling capabilities. As the VPS is kind of, in quotes, just the visual drag and drop front into the standard Business Central, you can do with it what you can do with Business Central, but not more. Also not less, but also not more. With the VAPS, you get new capabilities because we actually enhance this fundament. And the way of how Business Central is now built is we don't change this fundament. So the fundament keeps being the same. This is all the same. And again, make use of this because this is powerful. And then with the VAPS, we actually build on this fundament and we enhance it. And we enhance it by, of course, we enhance it by a visual scheduler. You get the capability to see all what you have in Business Central, your entire schedule in Gantt charts, and you get drag and drop capability for scheduling. But then you will get also new functionality. The VAPS comes with finite capacity scheduling, something that standard Business Central is not good at. It gives you material availability information for scheduling. You can define alternative machine centers, including their multipliers. So you can say, okay, typically I use this machine, but this is an allowed alternative, but the allowed alternative is the older machine. And if I give the operation to this machine, then it will take longer to complete because I have to run the machine slower, something like this. With the VAPS, you don't schedule on Business Central data directly. Well, you schedule within Business Central, but you don't schedule on the live production data, but you can build various simulations of your production schedule and then select one which you publish. And last but not least, there is some semi-automatic priority-based scheduling and a couple of more things. But the message is the Business Central itself is very, very powerful and you can schedule with it. If you just want a visual drag and drop front end to this, work with the VPS. And if you need more functionality than what Business Central offers, and if you also need them for scheduling, then there is the VAPS. And now that this is clear and I hope I made these differences between what Business Central does, what the VPS does, what the VAPS does. I hope this is clear now. So now let's talk what you can expect from the demo that is going to come. And the demo will break into two parts. The first part is what I call the single order manual case. So we look at one additional production order that we add to the schedule, and we will create the one production order manually from Business Central. We will then schedule it with Business Central only. We will look at it with the VPS and then drag and drop schedule it. And then we will also look at it with the VAPS and we will add it to the schedule with finite capacity scheduling so that we see the difference what we have in Business Central only, what we get when we add visualization and drag and drop to it, and what we get when we add finite capacity scheduling. So this will be the first part of the demo. The second part of the demo is what I call the multiple production orders at once case. So as I said, there is MRP in Business Central. So I actually will create multiple production orders via MRP, and then we will briefly look at them in the VPS to just see what MRP does there. And then we will also try to effectively add them to the schedule with the VAPS. And so this is something that you now can expect in the next whatever 30 to 45 minutes. And with this, let's have a look and let's get going with, sorry for that, Business Central. And Some of the dialogues that I have in Business Central now pop up in German. I don't know why. Most of it is in English. And if there's something in German that you really need to understand, then I will let you know. You can read this. So I need to update my environment shortly. So now I'm in Business Central, and we said that I want to first create a production order manually from Business Central. And the use case may be that I already have a solid schedule, and now within the solid schedule, a customer calls and he asks for a delivery of a certain item by a certain date, and tells me that this is very urgent. So, and he tells me, yeah, no, you will get the order, so please get this to the schedule and let me know when you can deliver it. And so I say, okay, this is really urgent, this is very concrete, so I will create a production order that I immediately release to the shop floor. And I say, okay, this is actually a released production order. So now I would say I create a new production order. I won't do it right now, but I mean, we can look at this. I would create a new production order. You know how this would work. I leave this empty. I just created it in the preparation of the event. But let's do the following. So you create the new production order. You select the item. In this case, in my case, it is the customer is asking for item 1150. I say, hey, actually, this is urgent. So I put this into the description so that people will know they are asking for 48 units. They are asking it for, to get it around the 5th to the 7th. So here are two dates. The due date is the Business Central due date, which keeps on changing based on what you do with Business Central. So we made an enhancement to the production order header so that we also have a user controlled required due date. So this is standard Business Central. This is available when you schedule just with Business Central. This is also this is only available when you schedule with the VAPS. So this comes with the VAPS, like the color field, so that I say, hey, this is actually urgent. And when I want to look at it within the visual advanced production scheduler VAPS, I want to see this production order 101040 in red. And then once I created this, I say process, I refresh the production order so that it gets some routing. I do a backward scheduling from the due date that I defined, and then my routing lines had been added to this production order. And now when I work with Business Central, I can go into the routing. Forget about this line. This comes from the VAPS, but I see, okay, with my standard routing, for this production order, I need 5 operation. It goes to 5 machine centers. It starts on my machine center drilling 1 on the 1st of February at 10 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, and it finishes later this day after 10 p.m. And so I can look actually now into all my operations, and from here I can also look further options, actions, function. Let's see, I can also look at the allocated capacity, and from there see, like, okay, there is some setup time, there is some run time. So now I can start drilling down into actually understanding what Business Central scheduled for me. And I can also now go into the respective machine center, open it, and look what has been allocated to that machine center. When I can run reports on the machine centers to see which production orders that are doing. But all of this happens like manually. And if for some reason I would not want to start it on the 1st of February at 10 minutes past 3, but if I would like to like to start it earlier, let's say, hey, I need to start it at 1 p.m. for one reason, then I would type it in here and Business Central would automatically update all the other fields for me. So this is how scheduling and dealing with Business Central only work. So I have mechanisms to kind of rather in a solid way add a production order, because I defined the routings before when I said process refresh production order schedule backward, or my routing was added. Business Central takes care that my successor predecessor relation is being taken care of. When I change timings here, it automatically updates. Also, if I would change like cutting here, if I say, okay, this starts later, then everything here would update accordingly. Where Business Central has the weak point is that I have no visual overview. I have no understanding of, okay, are there other production orders at the same point of time? Like, what is my capacity utilization at these machines? So how busy are drilling, milling, cutting one? What is happening there? What is my production flexibility there? Can I move this forward? Do I need to move it backward? How is my assembly station 2 scheduled? So all of this visibility into what is happening on my machine and work centers, and what kind of other production orders do I have in the schedule at the same point of time. This is where Business Central rather is not very good. So I see I have a bunch of released production orders. I can see what item this is. I can see how many I'm producing, when this is starting, when this is finishing, what the due date is. So there is some information here, and I can look at the same data now with my firm planned production order. But it is really hard to get, I would say, a 360-degree overview fast. This is what is a bit missing in Business Central, and this is the gap that the VPS, the Visual Production Scheduler, closes. And the Visual Production Scheduler just looks at the same data that I looked at before, but in a graphical way. So now I'm looking at my production order, if it starts. So here they are, and you actually see I have planned production orders, which I ignored so far. I have, and now this is kind of annoying that this comes up anyway. I have firm planned production orders, and down here, I have my released production orders, and I see when I start working on this, when I finished working on this, or when I'm supposed to start working on this. This red line is the work date. So in my demo environment, the work date is on the 28th of January 21. So hopefully in my demo environment, we are pretending we are hopefully post-COVID. So this is today, and if you're a customer, or if you work with a customer, then this line would represent today. So I see, okay, I wanted to start on this production order 2 days ago. Now I'm here, I need to be finished by then. I can drill down into the production order lines. I can drill down into the operation, and if you do some output or consumption posting with the production journal, then you also get these underscores here. And let me quickly just, sorry for that interruption. Let me just, this is an email add-in that I have, and this keeps on coming up. And I just really don't want to get disturbed by this anymore. So let me quickly, I don't know what's happening and why this comes, although my Outlook is closed. So I need to talk to these guys that they build better software. Actually, it's useful, but sometimes it's annoying. So this integrates actually my emails with our CM system. Never mind. So now let's go back to the demo, and sorry for that. Hopefully I will no longer get disturbed by this pop-up. So this is the visual schedule that we have, and we can get it both from the perspective of the production orders, and also, and this is particularly interesting, from the perspective of my work and machine centers. So I have my work center groups here, I have my work centers, and then I have my machine centers. And now let's expand the work center so that we look really at the machine centers. And let's look what Business Central did to the production order that I just scheduled. This was the 10-10-40 and this was released. So released is in orange. So this is what Business Central did. This is my production order. We start on drilling 1. It goes to milling 1. It goes to cutting 1. And it goes to assembly station 2. And then there is some quality inspection in my inspection table. And you see that actually it got added to the schedule, but we didn't take into account finite capacity. This is something that is really, really hard to recognize when you maneuver through the Business Central tables. And Business Central has a functionality that is called capacity constraint resources, but it produces, let's say, counterintuitive results. So of the couple of hundred customers that we have for the VPS, I think only 1 or 2 uses this functionality. So this is typically a result that Business Central produces, and then the VPS shows this to you. Now I kind of have to figure out what to do. So I can say, hey, actually, I have some free capacity here on the drilling 2 so that I can squeeze it in here. Then my successors, and this is what the VPS takes care of, my successors move, okay, actually milling 1. Well, there is also, I don't want to disturb this, so I puzzle it to that machine here. Then let's see what we can do on cutting. Wow, big overload here, but I push out. Here is a firm plant that I don't need, so I push this out so that I can leave the released one here because this is really urgent. This is a planned one. Never mind. Let's put this out. And so now you can really build your schedule with drag and drop. Successors get moved. Now get back to this. See, okay, I'm good in drilling. I'm good in milling. I'm good in cutting. Well, only a bit overload on assembled, so maybe these guys need to do some overtime here. Quality control busy, but there's some free space here on my inspection table too, and then I can move out stuff again. There was no, but I will move out this. So it is a little bit, we call this sometimes in quote, like drag and drop Tetris, this scheduling, but it helps you rather visually build a feasible plan, right? So now I took my production order 10-10-40 that was scheduled by Business Central, where Business Central scheduled a lot of overloads that I couldn't see within Business Central. Here, I could see them quite quickly and I could start to sort this out. And I also see like what is the overload on my machines. I can look at a capacity utilization chart in the UK, my cutting department, wow, I have a big overload here on Monday, so something I need to sort out stuff here on cutting on this cutting 1 on this Monday. Somewhere like see on cutting 2 there is an overload, but I have a lot of capacity on the other day, so maybe this is just a firm a planned production, so maybe I need to move it to cutting 3 where I have some free capacity so that we balance out this capacity overload here on this Monday and have an overall better average capacity utilization during the week. So this is how you can work with the VPS, and of course there are a lot more function in here. So I can say, well, you know, all this planned and firm planned production orders, I really don't care, but I would like to filter now. I would just like to focus on the release production orders because I need to build a good release production order schedule. So I can choose a view filter. I can define them, and I have one defined. If we look at this, filter, then it says, okay, we filter by production order status and we filter only on the released ones. The rest of the filter criteria are empty. So I select this filter and now I filtered on the release productors. I can really try to schedule something here which is close to the work day to the day, so that I have a good, at least good plan of my released production orders, and hopefully no big overloads on these days when I just have the released, and then I could kind of now also add the firm plan product orders to the schedule and slot them in there. So actually, some of the information that you have in Business Central, but that are really hidden, become much more transparent, much more imminent if you work with the VPS, and then you can start building your schedule with really drag and drop like I just did, and then I can go back here again and look at, now I changed my production order 4040. I can say okay, show this in the other view, then we go back, then we see it here again, we see the structure of the production order, how it flows through the respective work centers. We see that the initial due date that we had is still not violated. If things would get moved here, successors will get moved, due date will get violated, and I see this. If I'm still happy with this, I would kind of press save, and then we would save this immediately back to Business Central. So there are a lot of things that you can do with the VPS, and as said, the VPS supports you to do all of the things you can do with standard Business Central, but in a graphical way, and hence in a most likely easier to understand way. But you also see that working with the schedule with the VAPS is a bit of manual work. However, it is transparent and hence easy to understand, and hence most likely faster than if you would kind of maneuver through all the Business Central tables, but it is still manual. And now let me remove the filter again. What the VPS does not prevent you to do is it does not kind of protect you for doing some overload. So you see there are some overloads here. This is how Business Central created your schedule or my schedule, and now I'm, as the planner, have to solve this. Okay, here, I could actually solve this by moving it from drilling 1 to drilling 2 because I have a gap. But this is the kind of schedule and scheduling task that you have to do if you work with a manual product, a manual scheduler. Then you 100% control what is happening. A production order will sit there where you position it with the mouse. There is no magic happening in the background, but it is manual work. So if you look for more support, if you look for a proper finite capacity scheduling, if you don't want these overloads to happen, then the VAPS comes into play. So now let's move from the VPS, and we saw how the VPS worked, to the VAPS. And with the VAPS, it is like I said before, we don't work directly on the Business Central production data, but we allow you, and actually also we force you, to do a production simulation. Because what we don't want to have is a situation where you make changes to the schedule and then automatically work order list and stuff like this is updated. This is also not here, by the way. So you saw that I changed operations and then they get this gray or this red dot. This means they got changed here, and I didn't write this back into Business Central. So I made changes. If I'm happy with these changes, then, and now let me get back to the VPS menu, hopefully. And if I would press save, then we would directly update the Business Central production order data. Now, if I leave the schedule, if I exit the visual schedule, then all changes that I did are gone. So now I go back to the VPS. We read again from the standard Business Central tables, and I didn't change things because I didn't wrote back. So now let's go back to order 101040. Look at this. In the other view, show operation capacity view. So this jumps and now it's blinking here, so it's selected. And if I look at this 10-10-40 now, this is here, you see, holy moly, an overload again on drilling because what I just sorted out before was not saved. So the VAPS is a little bit different with the VAPS, and you see also VPS simple, just the scheduler, open it with the VAPS, a lot of menu entries. This is all for setting it up. I will skip this, and I did a lot of demos on this in the past again. But with the VAPS, we start with simulations. Now my simulation area is empty, which means I create a new simulation. And creating a new simulation, I can say what is the minimum status of a production order I want to include. I want to start from firm plan, simulation, or webinar schedule. This long script. So I can give it a speaking name. I can say, hey, actually, I want to look at my data at a time frame which I define relative. I'm looking 5 days back, 12 weeks out. I want to see. Let's start with the production order status view. Then it looks like we had before, and I could add more filters here. So now I'm saying OK. And if I'm doing so, then we actually copy all production order data into separate table that we keep within Business Central, and now you schedule on this copied table. We call it the simulation table, but now you schedule on this separate table, and you can build another schedule where I say, okay, actually 12 weeks is too long. I want to just look at 10 weeks. And this is my webinar 2 simulation. And so you can create as many simulations as you like. In this case, they are the same, but because the time frame didn't differ so much. But anyway, you can have them as many simulations as you like. You can build your schedule, you can compare them. And if you're happy with the schedule, then you say publish, and then we write this back into Business Central. So now let's look at my webinar 2 schedule, and it comes up, it opens up in the production order view again, in the capacity, in the production order status view. So we have the released in orange, the firm plant in dark blue, and the plant in light blue as before. You see the work center groups, the work centers, and the machine centers here. And then you recognize something that is the standby resource. And the standby resource is the collection of all production orders that I have added to Business Central, but not yet added to the schedule. So contrary, everything that you see on cutting 1, cutting 2, cutting 3, drilling 1, drilling 2, and so on and so forth, has been scheduled by me as the person working with the VAPS before, and I published it. So this is actually the schedule I built with the VAPS, and everything on standby is what we added to Business Central. So now there is this one released production order here, and this is my released production order 10-10-40. This is the one that we together just created earlier on and that we looked at already before in the VPS. And just if you remember, when I created this production order, I wrote color VAPS red. So why the hell isn't it showing in red? Then this is because we have the color scheme here that differentiate by production order status, which means every released production order in orange, every firm plant in blue, and so on and so forth. But I can say, hey, actually, I want to look at the same schedule, but now apply what we call the production order view, where we use the production order specific color for the respective production orders. So now it takes a bit, and now you see actually this is in red, and you see also that now my schedule looks a bit like an Indian carpet with a lot of colors because I spent some time defining production order specific colors, so to have a visual differentiation here within the visual schedule. And now this is on standby and I have to bring it to the schedule. Well, first option is drag and drop. And drag and drop is that I could say, okay, I know that from my standard routing, this production order for that item should go to drilling 1. This is urgent So I squeeze it in here Monday morning. But we see that the length of this operation is longer than the time frame here. So now if I squeeze this in, and now big difference between the VPS and the VAPS, here it's finite capacity scheduling. We don't create an overload, but we move out everything that is on that machine. And we move out also the successors of everything that is on machine. So the red one pushed out the black one, the green one, the green one, the gray one, and so on and so forth. And actually, look what happened. The green one here pushed out this successor on milling 2. This green one then pushed out this blue one, and this blue one pushed out this blue one. So we have changes on cutting 1 of a production order that was not impacted by not directly impacted by change that I made on drilling 1. So there is actually a lot of potential to make massive changes to the schedule with drag and drop when you have a finite capacity scheduler. So we have more effective ways of adding this production order to the schedule. So first I can say, hey, actually I put some effort in place to build this plan before, so I don't want to disturb my plan, but I want to tell my customer a realistic time frame when this actually can get ready. And even if he's shouting that this is urgent, I can say, okay, I've add this to my standard machines, but I don't want to disturb the current plan. So then it goes to the standard machines that were defined in routing, and then I can say, hey, dear customer, I know that you are requesting this for the 7th of February, but you know what? My machines are super busy and my shop is full. I can only deliver on the 10th of February. And then we know what's happening. The customer starts to argue with us and you say, can you look at it again? And actually, I really need it by the 7th of February. And so let me quickly undo this. And then we can say, let me look for some options. And now we get something comes into play that we have in the VAPS, where I earlier on said ignore this. So let's go to the routing again. We know that my default machine is drilling 1. This is what I defined in the routing, but we have also the alternate routing set. This is VAPS functionality. And from the alternate routing set, I see that, hey, drilling 2 is actually an allowed alternative. So I know, okay, this must not necessarily go to drilling 1, but I can also move or produce this on drilling 2. And the machines seem to be equal, so it takes the same time to set it up and it takes the same time to run it. Unlike drilling, there is cutting. If you remember, I have 3 cutting machines, but for this specific production order, only cutting 1 and cutting 2 are capable of doing the work. So these are the allowed alternatives. And cutting 2 runs a little bit slower. So given the same start date, it would finish it later. So now I can also say, add this production order to the schedule without changing the schedule, but look within all allowed alternative resources for that resource that can get this thing done at earliest. And this is what we call apply alternative routing. And then we look within all alternative for an earliest spot, and you see it goes to drilling 2, no surprise, the milling 1, because this is available at earliest. There is some free time at cutting. And now we recognize that with the same kind of resource load we have, but with making more intelligent use of the allowed alternative, we actually can say, customer, hey, good luck. We can finish it in time and deliver it in time. And so this all was the single order manual 1-by-1 case. And you see actually that there are a bunch of more production orders sitting here on standby. And if I don't want to schedule them all 1-by-1, we also have another option. And this is we can say, hey, schedule all. And this means add all that are on standby and take into account the alternate machine center. So if I click this, We need to wait a bit depending on how many operations we need to add to the schedule. And now you see everything is moved from standby, a finite capacity schedule is applied, and things are lined up really nicely on my machines. So now we are getting from scheduling just a single production order by drag and drop or by some scheduling tools. We are now kind of getting also to a state, and this is also something that only comes with the VAPS, where you can schedule multiple production orders in one go. And actually, and now let me quickly change my company. And for some reason, this is in German. I don't know why. Maybe somebody can explain me, somebody who knows the product better than I. So let me now switch to my playground company, actually from my VAPS demo company to my playground company to look at some other data. And now I get the license expiry warning, reminder to myself to update my demo license. Now we're talking about adding multiple production orders to the schedule. And actually, when I spoke about the rock solid fundament of Business Central, also Business Central has a very efficient tool to bulk create production orders and kind of build or create those production orders to meet your item demand. And this is MRP. And I don't want to do a deep dive into MRP now, but let's look at how here in my playground company, my demand forecast for this year looks like. And it is almost empty for all items, but there are some items. Sorry, there are some items. And also this context menu is in German, so this is really silly. And now I wanted to filter, and I want to only look at my 3000 range items. And then if we look at this by week, then we actually see that I have for some of the items, and this item 3009, 8, 7, and 3000, and these are some sample items that I created. I have a demand, a weekly demand. So I have a forecast for these items, and I created these items. I set up these items under the item settings that they are items, the replenishment system is a production order. So whenever there is a demand for this item, then I need to produce it. So now, and this is only a bit of demand for a couple of weeks in February and March. So not that big deal. So then I can actually tell Business Central, okay, look what kind of demand that I have and help me build and create the production orders. And let me quickly delete what I have here. So now I'm getting to the MRP. Let me delete first my previous regenerative plan and create a new one. So now one of the things of business, and I don't go into all of these details. You know this most likely more than I, but what I wanted to go to is that I say, okay, now I want to create a plan that tells me for a certain period of time, so ending January until June, so maybe for the next 5 months, based on my forecast that I have, what kind of production orders would I need to create? And also what kind of purchase order will I need? But I just will look at the production orders here because we are in the production order session. Plus I have no clue about purchasing. So then I can filter this list, and then we look at my production orders. And then we see that actually based on my current MRP run, I would need to reschedule some production orders, which I don't want to do. I don't want MRP to touch my schedule. I also don't want MRP to, I will let it cancel one that is on my schedule, but I don't want it to, let's create a new one. So you see that Business Central suggests me to create some new production orders. I won't let MRP reschedule it, but then I can say, okay, now actually this suggestions are good. There is some new demand from my forecast. So let's actually add a bunch of firm planned production orders. And then now MRP creates new firm planned production orders. And of course, now you see the simulation that I have is outdated. And this means that I created some new production orders in the backend. So now I could either update the production and see what's happened. It says outdated, and previously it included 32 production orders. So now I say update the simulation. Now we are fetching the new, and you see actually 10 new production orders have been created, and this is now higher than it was before. Also, if I would create a new simulation with criteria that I have set up here earlier, I would get the same kind of production order count. So now if we look at the schedule again, then now Business Central with MRP has created a new production orders because I have that demand, and seems to take a bit to open. And now my schedule looks like this. If we look, like, I think I look at by production order. So let me see, view by status, my mistake. Then I see I have a few released production orders in there, but all here on standby. Some of the things that you see on standby were on standby before, and some of the things that you see on standby just were added. And so now again, a lot of production orders have been added by Business Central, and I can say, okay, I want to add those that were just created by MRP. I want to add them to the schedule, but maybe I want to keep the schedule for this week unchanged. So I want to start scheduling from Monday morning next week. Okay, I want to leave this week unchanged. So I want to start scheduling it from here, and then we can do again what we did before, say schedule, add all, and then all production orders. And now you see it's almost 100 operations that are sitting on standby. It's already done, and now everything is added to the schedule, starting from the scheduling start date. So all the production orders that were created and added by MRP have been now added to the schedule, with the exception of a few, because they actually were before the scheduling start date. So this is something I now need to handle, and I see I have some free capacity here, so I can squeeze them in earlier on. So this is actually what I wanted to show you: 3 times production scheduling, Business Central only, VPS and VAPS. We did the single order manual case, and we now also looked at the multiple production orders at once case. And actually, now I don't save this, so that we keep the Business Central data as they are. And let's look at the same schedule again with the VPS, so that you see the difference, what you can do on one mouse click. On one mouse click, I created this schedule with the finite capacity schedule after I added all these production orders via MRP. Here, it looks a little bit like this. This is what MRP created. And when I look at this from the capacity view, there might be some overlaps on some of the machine centers and some of the work centers. And now, again, there would be a lot of puzzling. So the more production orders you have and the more you work with MRP, definitively the more you will need something like the VAPS, so that you can properly schedule with finite capacities. If you are more the kind of the single order manual case, where you eventually add whatever 1 or 2 production orders a day, then the VPS is really a good entry-level scheduling tool, because you have 100% control about what's happening. Don't have to learn any algorithms and anything that's happening in the background, but you can just drag and drop it and manage the schedule as you would do anyway. So with this, I'm actually surprised that I'm in time. This is what I wanted to share with you guys, and I want to open it for questions. So if you have any question, please let me know. A typical question is that we get is, well, we are a NETRONIC partner. Can we resell the VAPS? The answer to this is you only can resell the VAPS if you get certified for it, and the certification costs you a bit of money. So you can sell the VPS with just signing our partner contract. This is no problem at all because this is it just integrates into what you guys most likely know better than we do. This is standard Business Central and the rock solid fundament for production scheduling. But as you saw with the VAPS, we are making actually a lot of enhancements, and we want to make sure that you guys understand these enhancements, because only if you guys understand them, you can consult your customers in the best possible way of how to use the product. And hence, for the VAPS, we are actually asking for certification and for you showing some commitment in terms of getting smart, or as smart as you can, on the product. And now I'm seeing the question. Can you please short explain the fill idle time function? Yeah, there is somebody who is actually very closely looking what I'm doing. Very nice. So let me go back to Business Central, and thank you for asking this question. This was not something that we agreed upon before that you asked the question, so I'm thankful that you did it. And maybe how to do it best. Let me switch the anyway. Let me switch the environment. So give me a minute to, why am I partly German Business Central, to go back again to the other database. And this is very slowly. Now, good that this thing happens towards the end of the video. So give me a minute. I'm really happy to show this. But in order to explain it, it is better to go to my initial database, because we have the differentiation, the color coding on the production orders is better here, and then we can better understand what is happening. Yeah, and now we are getting close, hopefully. So the fill idle times function is something that we built to help you deal with the implicit effects of the finite capacity scheduling. So if I'm in the simulation, and if I do, as we saw, some drag and drop scheduling, and let me switch now back to the production order view. If for some reason, now let's say this, I need to squeeze this in here. So then if I squeeze this orange one here, this again makes a lot of changes also in the following machine centers and in those that are directly and indirectly impacted. And then again, let me just make some more changes. So let me squeeze this in here and actually say, for some reason, this needs to be pinned here. I cannot start it earlier. And then I make some more changes for whatever reason. Also this green here needs to start here. So now I made a lot of explicit changes, but I'm also making a lot of implicit changes. And with these implicit changes, now some of the things that I didn't have on my radar screen got pushed out. So let's go to the color mode progress view, which actually differentiates between late and not late production orders. And I assume that just by me making these changes, some production orders turned late. And now what the fill idle time function does is it actually looks, starting from the scheduled start date, where there are unused machine times, idle times, that could be used by operations in terms of moving them to the left. So obviously, this one here will not be moved to the left because it's pinned. But by making these changes, I moved out also implicitly this production order, and this cannot get moved, but maybe there is a production order that I can find that I could squeeze in here. And you see, I would have to look for these opportunities of slotting in something there really hard. And with the fill idle times, we just say, okay, now look for idle times on machines that you can use in order to accelerate a production order and in order to reduce some of the gaps that you have on the machines. And I configured my system that I run a couple of iterations. So now I ran 5 operations, and you see a lot of the stuff now moved a little bit to the left. We used some idle times, and now you see, if I scroll down, the amount of late production orders really got reduced, because now it's only 2 that are late, and one of this is that the one that I cannot move because it's pinned. So the fill idle times tries to kind of move everything to the left without impacting existing schedule, but just making sure that we make a better use of the machines. Both add all and fill idle times are new functionalities that we developed. What I'm showing you today is a version that we call the release candidate. So we have code freeze, we are in the final testing phase, and we have the expectation to release the product by the end of the week, unless we find some severe bugs. But we already did some stable testing. So I hope that this answered the question. If you have more questions, you can either ask them now or send me an email or a LinkedIn message, even a tweet. I will answer them anyway. And if you have any question, please, please, please get in contact. I'm really excited about the VAPS, and I'm really happy to work with you guys. So with this, thank you very much for today. Stay safe and healthy, and see you soon. Bye-bye.